Welcome back to Trucking and Politics, folks. So this video here will go along with the last video I did. I'm leading up to another subject with these, I guess, prequel videos. One video that I put out, do you need $50,000 as an owner-operator? Another that I put out is about trucking companies and what types of trucks there is, what types of trailers, what types of freight. This video here is about recruiters. So a lot of trucking companies out here will hire what is called a recruiter. Well, you have to ask yourself, what is the job of a recruiter? That's a very simple question to answer. The job of a recruiter is to recruit new or previously employed truck drivers. Self-explanatory, right? Okay, if you are a truck driver and you are looking to start work for a trucking company, a big question that a lot of truck drivers ask and talk about is, where do I get information about this trucking company? And a lot of truck drivers out here will tell other truck drivers, will call and ask the recruiter. Is that a good idea? Maybe, maybe not. It goes back to the question, what is a recruiter? Well, a recruiter's job, as I said, is to recruit drivers. Do they tell the truth? Some do. I would say a lot of them will give you a lot of information. Okay. Here is the problem that you will find with a lot of recruiters out here is they want to paint with broad strokes. They don't want to go into specific details a lot of the times. They just want to glorify the company. They want to hit the high points, paint with a broad brush, to where they just cover everything in a short amount of time as possible. The reason they do this is because a recruiter will not sit there on the phone and tell you every bad detail about the company. They will only tell you what the company does, the specifics of certain things about the trucking company. Taken, for instance, here, say they require 2 years of experience. They will tell you that, we require 2 years of experience for a truck driver to hire on here. Another thing is we run our trucks at 65 miles an hour. I mean, they can't really lie about that. They can't really mislead you about that because it is what it is. The thing about recruiters, though, is, and this is something that I found out about the last company that I worked for. Okay. I have not been a company driver since 2007 because of certain things that have happened to me. I was an owner-operator from 07 until 23, and certain things have happened that I've put out in videos. You can go back and watch some of my previous videos if you're interested in that. I have found myself going back to looking at company driving jobs. I know there's some good ones out there. I know there is. I have worked for some in the past. And some of the good ones that I've worked for are no longer in business, or they are not hiring. That brings up a point right there. I told a friend of mine just not long ago, which is a truck driver, he is a truck driver as well. If you found the perfect trucking job, that pays the perfect amount of money, that gets you the perfect amount of home time, that you drive the perfect truck and you go to every stop that is so easy to get into, so easy to get out of. It's all drop and hook. It is the absolute perfect company. That company would never hire. The reason it would never hire is because if it's perfect for you, it would probably be perfect for thousands of other truck drivers. So therefore, they wouldn't have a need to hire. Now, that's something that is hard to find out, driver turnover. Because whenever you look at driver turnover, they take these studies, take, say, a section of 1,000 trucking companies out here, and they just go across the board again with these broad swipes of a paintbrush. They look at the companies and they put them into categories, from maybe the least amount of turnover to the highest amount of turnover. And they just average them out and say, well, this is the average turnover rate. These organizations that studies this, they don't really look at a specific company. A general rule of thumb for you, and this is general coming from me and my experience, a company that has a tremendously large amount of trucks will have a higher turnover rate than a smaller company with fewer trucks. Case in point being, you can't please everybody all of the time. You get so big that you just have to run your company. You're no longer trying to please individual drivers for driver retention. Your company becomes a revolving door. Drivers come in, drivers leave. Drivers come in, drivers leave. And it's just a constant rinse and repeat process. A thing that was said to me back in the day whenever I first started trucking was they run them through like cattle. Drivers were just ran through the company like cattle. They come in and they go out. This mainly pertains to large companies. Now, here's the thing that I will say. If you find a smaller company, say 300 trucks and under, even a company small, 50 trucks and under, if you see that they have a tremendously high turnover rate, however you find out that information, that should send up a red flag to you, because that company obviously has some serious issues of why they have such a high turnover rate. There was one company I know in particular I worked for many years ago. It was a local company here about 60 miles from my house. And I talked to what they called their driver recruiter. I even talked to the owner of the company. It was a smaller trucking company. And I asked, do you hire owner operators? Yes, we do. And I was an owner operator at the time. I started talking about where they ran and what type of freight and all the different questions that I could ask. One question that I forgot to ask, or that's just slipped my mind, or maybe I just didn't even think about asking the question, was how many owner operators do you currently have? I found that information out after I got leased onto the company. They had one owner operator leased onto the company. That one owner operator that was leased on was me. Everybody else that was there was a company driver. And I was treated very unfairly. I was not treated on the same level as everyone else. people had reoccurring loads. They went out, came back, went out, came back. A lot of times I was setting. I I remember one time in particular with this company, I was sent to a paper mill with scrap paper. The other drivers were doing drop and hooks. I was stuck with a load that was a live unload, and I sat for, I think, if I remember correctly, 12 or 13 hours waiting to unload at this busy paper mill. The only reason I was given that load was because I was the one and only owner operator that worked there. Now, would a recruiter have told me that to begin with? Probably not. Probably not. They probably would have never set out all of the negative things about the company. They will only paint with broad swipes of a brush. So, I guess the biggest thing that I want to get across here is when you talk to a trucking company, maybe the best thing, or let me back up, and before you talk to a trucking company, maybe the best thing for you to do is to not talk to the trucking company, not talk to the recruiter for that trucking company. Maybe you should find out more information through another venue about the trucking company. One thing that I will caution you on, I am a truck driver, and I will caution you about other truck drivers. A lot of truck drivers will give you misleading information. One of my friends, one of my really good friends that I have known for a very long time, works for a company not far from my house. I used to work for that company as well. His outlook on that company, my outlook on that company are totally separate. Totally separate. He tends to forget about the bad things that happen. When bad things happen with that trucking company, whenever he is dealt a short stick from that trucking company, he has the ability to just suck it in, swallow it up, and move on, because tomorrow, next week, next month, it'll get better. His living situation is different than mine. His bill situation is different than mine. His home time situation could be different than mine. A lot of different things are going on with individuals. Okay. So whenever a truck driver tells you, come over here and apply for this job, it's the best job you'll ever get. Well, it may be the best job you'll ever get for that person. It may not be a good fit for you. That was what I was trying to say, and maybe my last video was not the best video that ever was. Probably wasn't, didn't get a lot of views. But that was my end result with the last video that I put out, was be knowledgeable of what you are and what you're capable of and what type of truck driving job you want to get. Whether it be dry van, reefer, flatbed, heavy haul, whatever. That's one important thing. Another important thing for a lot of truck drivers is home time. With some truck drivers, that's not important at all. Another thing that may be important to truck drivers is pay. If you're just looking for a job that pays, say, $3,000 a week, bring home after taxes, after deductions, and that is all you're after, and you don't care if you spend 6 months out on the road to get it. Number one main factor for you is money, and that's it. You know, that doesn't fit a lot of truck drivers out here. That would only fit you and what your quest for a good trucking job is. So that's what I said in the last video. Know your worth. A lot of recruiters out here will not tell you stuff like the last company I worked with. I have a strong suspicion that they gave preferential treatment to their long-term drivers because some of their drivers had been there 10 years or more. Being a new driver just starting out, do you think they would treat me the same and pay me the same as a driver that had already committed himself and spent 10 years at that company? No. I am going to be treated very differently. I am going to be put under a microscope. Any new driver that would come in there would be put under a microscope compared to a driver that had been there 10 years. Now, a recruiter will not tell you those type of things. That should be something that is either known beforehand or maybe it's just common sense that anybody should know this. A lot of companies out here will say, we have no preferential treatment. It doesn't matter if you're new and you start here today or you've been here 20 years. Everybody's the same. Everybody goes out. They deliver their loads. Everybody comes back at the same time. Everybody gets the same home time. To give you an example of how that could not possibly be is a company that accumulates vacation over a period of time. Say if you work there 1 year, you get 1 week vacation. If you work there 10 years, you get maybe 10 or 15 weeks vacation. That proves right there that you're not going to be the same. You're not going to be treated the same. And there's other things that fall into place there too. Maybe a truck driver that's been there 10 or 15 years will know the good and the bad places to deliver to. And if a load comes up, saying going to downtown Cleveland, Ohio, for an example, and that driver knows that customer and knows that that's a bad place and a hard place to get into, maybe they'll, pull the dispatch to the side and say, hey, I've already had my time. I've already done that run. Can you give it to one of the new guys and let me do something better? You know what I'm saying? And a recruiter will not tell you that type of stuff. Maybe the recruiter doesn't even know that type of stuff goes on. If it's a new recruiter, you have to think about that too. Maybe it's a new recruiter that just started to work at the company. They don't even know all the ins and outs of it. This is why I personally have preferred to stay with smaller, say, mom and pop type trucking companies. The problem with that type of trucking company is a lot of times they're very unstable. One that I know in particular around this area, at one time they had 40 drivers. I think at this time they're down to 10 drivers and they're not hiring. They are so slow and so compromised with what they're doing. The drivers that are there, their paychecks have been cut drastically. They're just hanging on. The company itself is just hanging on. They're not flying high like they used to. They're dwindling down. The owner of the company is looking to retire, looking to sell the company off. So the drivers are just riding it out with the owner. There's all kinds of different situations out here with all kinds of different trucking companies. And like I'm saying, this is going along with the last video I did, how to pick a company. Well, this goes along with it. Maybe you shouldn't put 100% of your faith in a recruiter. Now, this is not blasting every recruiter out there and saying every recruiter lies and they will mislead you and everything. I'm just looking at all of the different avenues, all of the dead ends, all of the two-way streets, all of the everythings that go in with trucking and recruiters. And like I said, some of them will be very open and very honest. One thing that you can do that I have found is to actually go to the company. If it's close to your house, go there. See if you're welcomed. See how the people's attitudes are that are there. See if you can talk to one of the drivers maybe that's at the yard and just point blank ask the people, hey, do you care if I go have a conversation with this person? Whether it's a male or female, a day cab driver, over the road driver. If you see somebody out on the road at a truck stop, or you see somebody loading or unloading, I have done that before. Get out and have your conversation as two truck drivers and say, hey, how do you like this company? You're off of the company property. It's a more comfortable atmosphere for both of you. You're not under pressure. And you can just sit there and have a conversation. Tell me the truth. How long do they keep you out here? What type of pay do I get? Is there a lot of drivers coming in and out of here? Is there a lot of drivers satisfied? You don't want to have that kind of conversation within the trucking company, especially within the recruiter's office. If they bring a guy in and say, hey, talk to this new guy, and tell him about the company. Well, you're sitting there with the person that could potentially hire or fire you. You think that you're going to be 1,000% truthful and tell everything? Now, I would, because that's the type of person I am. That's probably the reason why I got fired from my last job. And yes, I did get fired from my last company job because I don't cut corners with stuff like that. I don't. I just tell the truth, and if it helps the company, it helps the company. If it hurts the company, it hurts the company. I'm not here to slander any company, but I'm also not here to be their cheerleader if they're a bad company, and I would never, never, never tell you as a viewer to this channel or a potential person that's wanting to work for a company that I know of, go to work for them and just, don't even think about it. Just go to work for them and then they'll treat you right and they'll do you right. Well, I have to sit and think, well, what if this person wants to be home every weekend? Well, what if this person doesn't want to run certain areas? Well, what if this person doesn't like all these rules and regulations within the company? It wouldn't help me to sleep at night telling you, well, just go to work for this company. They'll treat you right. Well, no, I'm going to be a more open type of person to tell you, like I stated in my last video, this is the good, this is the bad, this is the ugly. And you decide whether it's good for you or not. That way you wouldn't come back and say, well, Dave told me this was a good company and he lied to me. No, I probably wouldn't be a good recruiter. I wouldn't be a good recruiter unless I went to work for a company and I knew without a doubt in my mind that they would bend over backwards and do everything they could possibly do to please every single driver that come through their door. If I found that company, then I could go to work as a recruiter for them. Until then, no, I couldn't do it. And I don't see how a lot of recruiters out here can do that type of job, because I'm just a very open and honest person, and I tell things like it is. If I hand you an orange, I'm going to say, hey, this is an orange. This is what it tastes like. You might like it, you might not. I'm not going to hand you an orange knowing that it's a lemon and try to trick you. I'm not doing that. And that's just not the person I am. there's a lot of recruiters out there that will hand you a lemon and tell you that it's an orange. Let's just leave it at that. There's other ways to find out if there's a good company or a bad company. What it all starts with is you. That's what it all starts with. You have to know yourself. If you know yourself and you know what you want and you know what you're capable of handling in trucking and what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing to not put up, or what you're not willing to put up with, then that gives you the upper hand when you go to try to find a good company. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. Hopefully it was better than my last video, a little more descriptive for you. And hopefully you'll stick around. If you like my videos, if you like this type of content, I will have a little bit more to come on this before I switch back and go back into my normal trucking and politics rants about other things. I'm going through this stage right now where I am trying to refine myself because of a lot of things that are happening in my personal life. And I'm trying to get the channel to go along with what I'm doing personally as well. And a lot of this is the stuff that I'm going through. So I'm sharing it with you. We're kind of coming along on this journey together. And right now is a tough time for trucking. It really is a really tough time for trucking. In fact, I haven't seen this type of times in trucking ever in my entire life. I have never seen this. I don't know if trucking will ever be the same once we get over this and move on. I mean, so much stuff has happened in the last 5 to 7 years. I don't even know if we'll recoup out of this. People have got to eat. I mean, there's 3 things in life. You've got food, water, and shelter that are absolutely necessities for life. And truckers bring those things. So as long as we have a need for food, water, and shelter, there will be a need for truck drivers. The trucking industry is going through some major changes right now. I'm just trying to put these videos out here to help you along with your journey, like I am going through it myself. And be careful of recruiters. Be careful of recruiters. Like my video a couple of times ago, a shop can ruin an owner-operator. Well, a recruiter can destroy a truck driver. A recruiter can make a bad truck driver out of someone that used to be a great truck driver because they've been misled so much. Be careful with that. Know what you're doing, know what you're getting into, know who you're talking to. Try to get as much information as you can. Just don't go to one source, one recruiter, and take them for face value and say, oh, they told me this was the greatest trucking company that ever was, that ever will be, so I'm going to be happy here. And then 3 weeks later, you find out it's just absolutely miserable there, and so are you. Be forewarned, I guess. If you need any more information, my email is truckingandpolitics01@gmail.com. You can reach out to me there anytime. We can have a personal conversation, maybe here in the next few short weeks or months that I'll start doing interviews with other truck drivers and putting them on air with me. Maybe that will help some truck drivers out as well. So in the meantime, have a great day.